This video demonstrates how to create user roles to control access to Operations Manager data and monitoring objects like tasks and views according to the user's business responsibilities and needs. Let's consider the following scenario. You want to grant access to a group of SQL administrators who will be using the Ops Manager deployment to monitor SQL servers and databases. You want to allow the SQL administrator the ability to override existing monitor or rule parameters in the SQL management pack for a specific group of SQL computers. However, you don't want them to have access to views and tasks that are not related to SQL. So in this case, you want to create a user role that uses the Advanced Operator profile, which allows the users to set overrides as opposed to the operator profile, which does not. And you want to scope the user role such that it can only access SQL-related computer group. To create the user role, you need to open the Operations console and go to the Administration space. Right-click on the navigation pane and select New User Role. This provides you a number of profiles to choose from. In this case, we want the Advanced Operator profile. This brings up the Create User Role wizard. On the General page, you can enter the user role name, and in this case, let's call it the SQL Advanced Operator. You can also put in a short description for the user role. Now you will need to add members to the user role. You can select users and security groups created in Active Directory and add them as members. Members are granted with privileges that comes with the selected profile and are given access to the scope that we will define. In this case, we will add the SQL Admins security group that contains all SQL Administrator user accounts. On the next page, you will need to add the group scope to the user role. This limits the user role members' access to objects that are only contained in the selected group. Let's grant this user role access only to SQL-related groups. On the task scope page, you can select specific tasks that will go into the user role scope. Click the Add button to bring up the Add Task dialog. You can enter a search string to limit the task list to the ones that you are interested in. In this case, let's enter SQL. This returns all SQL-related tasks. Let's assume in this scenario that SQL reporting services is managed by a separate team. So let's take the reporting services related tasks out from the list. Finally, on the View Scope page, you can select specific views that the user role members can access. Let's select all views under the SQL Server folder. You will notice a warning dialog popped up. It is simply informing you that new views added to the same folder in the future will not be automatically added to the user role. Click OK to close it and continue. On the summary page, it displays all of the monitoring objects that will be added to the user role scope. Click the Create button to create the user role. You will now notice the new user role is listed in the user role view. We will now test the new user role. Let's open the Operations console using the identity of one of the SQL administrators. The first thing that you will notice is that this user does not have access to the administration space nor the reporting space. This is because the user is only an advanced operator, not an administrator nor a reporting operator. If we open the database state view, you will see that the user have access to all discovered database instances as well as their associated tasks that are added to the scope. If we expand the server role and reporting services view, you will notice that there are no reporting services tasks listed on the action pane. This is because we have removed those tasks when we are defining the user role. You will also notice that this user does not have access to other views, such as those under the Operations Manager Agents view, as defined in the user role. To learn more about role-based security, you can select any of the help options in the console or refer to the online help at www.microsoft.com.